Shams has just dropped a bombshell report on Damian Lillard as we are now just days away from the Milwaukee Bucks playoff run beginning. We have some shocking updates on that front. We're going to break that down as well as discuss multiple other updates ahead of what's going to be a crazy playoff run. But before we get into it, if you're enjoying the daily Bucks content that Nathan and I are producing, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Your guys' support has been absolutely unbelievable, and we're getting very close to 3,000 subscribers. We got you covered all postseason long and, of course, into the offseason as well. Ladies and gentlemen, let's dive right into it today. Now, obviously, the postseason is days away. The regular season is officially over. It was an up and down regular season, but the big question mark now is, of course, the Bucks. How are they going to hold up against the Indiana Pacers? Of course, it's going to be interesting, but we have a huge report on Damian Lillard. Let's dive right into it. This just dropped, yesterday night. Shams from the Bucks. The Bucks are very optimistic, that Damian Lillard with a blood clot issue will be cleared to play to return at some point during the playoffs. So he will be cleared to play and return, of course, at some point during the playoffs. Lillard has an upcoming exam to determine clearance for postseason play. So there's a bunch of things to go over with this specific report here. And obviously, we're talking about, the Bucks are in a very interesting spot right now because yes, they did very well to close off the regular season without Damian Lillard. Damian Lillard has been out for a little bit now. He's been out for a while, but the Bucks have held on. Of course, Kevin Porter Jr., his acquisition at the deadline from John Horst, the way he's been playing, all these different things. Kyle Kuzma hasn't been playing great, but it started to work a little bit, especially, the Bucks have held their ground in Dame's absence. That's been the biggest thing. But this report drops now that he will be cleared to return at some point during the playoffs. Now, there's an optimistic sside of this and there's a pessimistic side of this. The optimistic side is they need Damian Lillard, at least in my opinion, to make a deep playoff run. If you're a Bucks fan, you really were hoping, and the acquisition of Damian Lillard was in hopes that you will have a clutch playoff performer to help really push your team over the top when playoff time comes. We've seen the Bucks fail over the past few seasons. Past couple of seasons, of course, they did win the playoffs there, win the championship a few years ago, as we know. But over the past couple of seasons, they haven't been able to really get over the top, especially in a very strong Eastern Conference at this point. With, of course, the Boston Celtics, all these different teams, the Cavs having a resurgence here. But as it pertains to Damian Lillard, it is an interesting spot because, again, the team has been doing fine without him, but they acquired him in the offseason with a couple offseasons ago now, with the number one goal of, him being the clutch performer to pair alongside prime Giannis Antetokounmpo, and then you go out there and you have your 1-2 punch. Now, it didn't work out last season. A bunch of injuries. Dame and Giannis barely played last season. And they didn't play together as much as they were hoping for this season. I had videos on it at the beginning of the year, all these different things about how hopefully this would be the year where they basically, they play 60, they play 70 games together, and they can really, or even 80, but, 70 games have been realistic, and then they get in their groove heading into the playoffs. Wasn't really the case. The unfortunate part was, they're healthy a little bit, and they looked really good when they were together at times. Of course, they shook things up. They got rid of Chris Middleton. They acquired Kyle Kuzma. They acquired Kevin Porter Jr. We saw, Ryan Rollins get some minutes this year. AJ Green played very solid, especially towards the start of the season. And now, of course, we don't know if he's going to play in the first round. And as soon as an update drops surrounding that, we will have it for you. But let's think back now to a couple weeks ago where the Bucks said Damian Lillard is hopeful to get cleared in the next week or week and a half and go full on, then resume basketball games for the Bucks. That ultimately didn't happen. The goal was for the Milwaukee Bucks was to get Damian Lillard in games prior to the regular season ending. That would have, of course, given him an opportunity, primarily given him an opportunity to give him a chance to just play with the team, get chemistry going, get all these different things rocking, especially now with Kyle Kuzma, their fairly new acquisition, Kevin Porter Jr., who's stepped up mightily in the Milwaukee Bucks absence, and we have to give John Horst some credit there. A fantastic acquisition. They didn't give up anything, basically, to get Kevin Porter Jr., but now the big question mark still remains. How are the Bucks going to fare in the playoffs against the Indiana Pacers if Dame is or isn't available? Now, of course, if he is available, I like my chances. I still like the Bucks' chances with or without Dame. They've been playing very good basketball lately. They've been moving the ball well. They've been having, of course, some good scoring performances from Kevin Porter Jr. You have Giannis playing some of the best basketball of his career in the absence of Damian Lillard. So it's going to be very interesting. As you look at the stats here, of course, luckily the Bucks finished outside of the play-in spot, so we don't have to be worried about the playoffs or the play-in this week. And, of course, the Bucks will be playing on Saturday in the first game. But it's going to be an interesting matchup. Of course, the 4 or 5 seed and how the Bucks match up with the Pacers is interesting. And I want you guys to let me know down below what your thoughts are on that specific matchup because I think it's a very interesting point because I think the Bucks have more talent on paper than the Pacers. I think they are a better team than the Pacers. Of course, the Pacers have some guys. They have Benedict Mathurin. They have Tyrese Halliburton. They have Pascal Siakam. Mainly Siakam and Mathurin. But as you look at how the Bucks are going to rock their starting lineup and all these different things without Dame. So you can see this here. Dame said about not just this season, but the rest of his career, I don't see myself as somebody who's just hanging on. I know I'll be able to play until I'm 39 or 40. So this injury Like, Dame is not anywhere close. And of course, he's 34 years old, but he's not anywhere close to retiring. He wants to come back and play. And I think if he is remotely available to play, he's going to probably push it a little bit to get into the first round here. And as soon as we have an update surrounding the first round, of course, we'll drop it to you all as soon as it happens. But as the matchup starts to take place here, Prince, Kuzma, Giannis, Brook Lopez. Of course, they have Kevin Porter Jr., they have Ryan Rollins, Bobby Portis as well, all these different guys. Let me know down below what you think the starting lineup for the Milwaukee Bucks is going to be, because it's, of course, going to be interesting to see how they handle Kevin Porter Jr.'s minutes, how they handle AJ Green's minutes, but specifically, they're going to need, and of course, in the final game of the season, the reason there's a bunch of outs there, they're not actually injured, they were just resting them, but as it pertains to a lot of the guys, I mean, Pat Connaughton's not going to get playoff minutes, and he just dropped 46 points in the last game of the season. So it's crazy how things change like that. But Kuzma, Giannis, and Brook Lopez and Taurean Prince are locks. Whether they go with Kevin Porter Jr. or Ryan Rollins, up in the air, probably Kevin Porter Jr. But again, you never really know. Kevin Porter Jr. has been doing fantastic off the bench. And you look at it here, since Damian Lillard has left the Bucks rotation, he's averaging 31, Giannis that is, 11, and 8.6 assists. So we've been seeing Giannis take the step in the playmaking department in lieu of Damian Lillard being out. In lieu of his absence, Giannis Antetokounmpo has been absolutely stepping up mightily in the facilitation department, which is exactly what you would because Giannis is going to get his 30 and 10. He's that type of guy. But as it pertains to the assist, losing Damian Lillard, even though he's not the best playmaking point guard in the league, he is someone who absolutely is a fantastic, facilitator just by pure, everybody gravitates towards Damian Lillard when he has the ball. And obviously running pick and rolls with Giannis, all these different things. Everybody gets open. We saw how many open threes AJ Green was getting at the start of the year. Gary Trent Jr., all these different guys. Kyle Kuzma now that he's come over, although he struggled a little bit in the scoring department. Things are looking good for the Bucks here. And I'm curious to see what you guys think about the matchup, especially now that Damian Lillard is hopefully going to be returning at some point. Now, some point during the playoffs, probably won't be the first round. You never really know, but the first round is starting on Saturday. That is when the game officially starts. And it's going to be interesting. You see this here from Caitlin Cooper. For the Pacers-Bucks, I wrote about managing the toll on Pascal Siakam, staying big while playing small, and the player who may need to factor in both after not factoring much is Jarris Walker, of course, a big man in Indiana. Featured Siakam pushing Nesmith for a break before breaking up a Dame Giannis DHO, of course, dribble handoff. It's going to be interesting, and I think the matchup is very exciting. I think the Bucks should take care of business. My prediction is Bucks in 6. We're going to keep you up to date with all the latest news there. Let me know down below what your prediction is for both for the Bucks standings, but also just how you think they're going to fare and how you think the matchup is, because I think it is an extremely interesting matchup. And of course, they do play on Saturday in the first time slot, so a bit of an earlier afternoon-ish game for, depending where your time zone is, of course. But let me know down below what your thoughts are on that. We're going to keep you up to date, Nathan and I, with all the latest Bucks news, so make sure to hit that subscribe button. It's going to be an interesting next few days before the playoffs. Enjoy the playing games. No stress for Bucks fans. Thank you guys for watching. See you guys later.